Good morning everyone. I want to share a short video in the series of Simple Living with God today. Here in Holland it's a beautiful day and it's very peaceful here in the place where I live, outside of my city. And the topic that I want to share with you today is how important it is that your ancestors had an understanding of who God is. A few of my ancestors, I'm thinking about the father of my father and also the mother of my mother actually, had a profound spiritual life. They were each in their own ways spiritual people praying and living with the Word of God. My father's father was from the Reformed Church, and he was very much in music and gathering songs. Whenever we came there, we saw him making tapes with songs that are sung in that time in Holland, in church and outside church. But what I didn't know was that when he was young, he had a profound encounter with God. Actually, my mom and dad looked at him as a bit weird, being focused so much on songs and religion. When I was marrying my wife, Janet, I met him and I spoke to him on a very personal basis. And he shared with me this experience which he had when he was a teenager. He said, when I was a teenager, one day I was praying to the Lord and I had a vision. Now, this was a man being in the Reformed Church, very Calvinistic, so having a vision is quite exceptional in those days. It must have been in the beginning of the 20th century actually, but he had a vision. And he said, in this vision I was standing on the mountain of Nebo, looking to the promised land. Now, when we read the Bible, we know that Nebo was the mountain that Moses was allowed by God to climb up so that he could spot the promised land of Canaan, which he was not allowed to go into. He had to send Joshua in his place. So this was a profound experience. He told me that was his vision on this day. My mom's mother, she was in the pre-war years, like 1935 in Holland, converted. She was the woman of a man that was having a boat crossing the canals in the Netherlands. He was converted during the preaching of a Pentecostal preacher from England. He was planting a church in Rotterdam. And so she and also her daughter, which is my mom, became part of his church. She was a praying woman. She was very simple in their Christian service. She was part of the welcome team. She was serving coffee in the church. She was not a deacon or any, but she was a simple woman, but she served the Lord for many, many years. And also, whenever I'm in church and I do something simple, like serving people with coffee, I always think about my mom's mom, who was doing that for the whole of her life, being very happy with being able to serve God with that. Now, these two people were my ancestors. And I always had the idea that when I came to Jesus when I was 22, in a very profound way, the prayers of these people for their grandchildren have made a difference. So now they're gone, long time gone. And having said this, I have in my room here, you see a lot of books behind me, all their Bibles, all their songbooks. And here I have in my hand a little songbook, and in the front page it's like a remembrance to my granddad. And I also have the Bibles of my mom's mom. And I always find it so encouraging that those examples of people that lived for, well, he was 83, or I think, and she was 65, actually like I am now 65. But they kept the faith. Like Paul says, I have kept the faith. So let's look at our ancestors. Let's remember their persevering faith. When you look at their lives and you see the trouble, the issues in their lives, they had not an easy life. My granddad with his family went through the Second World War. And he actually lost his elder daughter when she was 18 years old of meningitis. Having said that, I also have the Bible study of his daughter that died at such a young age. And she was speaking for the Young Women Fellowship in Rotterdam about her faith. So also you find grace and grains of gold with faith when you look what your ancestors leave behind. So let's be careful. Let's memorize them, honor them, and do it ourselves. Let's also pray for our grandchildren. Pray that they will also find Jesus, that they will also find a simple way of living with God, which would help them to fulfill their destiny, to reach their end with God. Amen.